Hello, welcome to the Brain Scrub. My name is Glenn Saunders. Thanks for tuning into today's episode, which is about the importance of understanding a bit more about our story and scrubbing our brain, which is why I chose this new image on my podcast of a clear cleansing of the brain and looking at our way of thinking and how that can lead us to what gets us upset, the stories we make up, the challenges we have. We are a product of our history and what we've been told and what we believe and how we've defended ourselves and how we've seen ourselves unfold and the values that we have and the beliefs that we've formed about ourselves and about our others. And wow, that really came to me in the last couple of weeks when I had my best friend here from Toronto, and he and I have known each other for over 35 years. And whenever we're together for a longer period of time, we have an argument. Which is fine because it shows that we really care about each other and we're willing to call each other out on stuff. And we learn so much from one another. We have such a strong friendship. And this trip that I recently had with him was no different. And things came up and it made me really consider, what am I doing? Why do I do this? And it was such a simple thing for me, but it disempowered him and made him resent me, and I didn't realize that I did this. And this is how this all unfolded, this thing that happened and transpired. We went camping, did an overnight backpacking excursion up to a place called Circlet Lake on Mount Washington, which is a local ski hill here on Vancouver Island, to complete a summit hike of Mount Albert Edward. And it was my wife and my best friend and his wife that did this. We had a great excursion up there. But then we're at the campsite. And what I started doing was I started controlling things. I had a certain level of impatience. When he was operating the gas stove, I would watch him intently. The way he did the dishes, like he just he put all the spoons and stuff into a cup and added some hot water with some dish soap and just shook it around. And both my wife and I looked at each other and said, wow, this is no way to do the dishes. But that was his way of doing the dishes. And I don't know what he had going on next. But nonetheless, I noticed my impatience about getting things done. And anyway, this stuff just added up for him. And he didn't mention anything at the time. And then on our way back from the hike, we run into a black bear, a big black bear on the trail eating berries. We yelled at it. It wasn't moving. So we decided to do a reroute, even though I didn't want to do a reroute. And so he led the way, did the reroute. I don't like following. I like leading. That's my personality. So I decided to do a different reroute in sections, but then the wives and my friend said, Glenn, why don't you just follow us? Why do you have to go a different way? And then he said to me, Glenn, you need to really work on yourself and stop trying to control everything, which triggered me. I got upset. I went to the back of the line because I'm normally in the front, and we started walking. And then he and I eventually had a conversation. The conversation worked out well. We shared what was going on. I shared with him when he said that to me, it just feels like I can't do anything right. I'm always the person that gets in trouble. And I also let him know, you know what, for me, I don't like following. I always see an opportunity and I tend to take that opportunity. I'm more risky that way. And yes, I understand that it can put other people at risk, but I've kind of learned over time to take care of myself because nobody else is going to take care of me. That's why I don't work well with teams. I'm always in the front. I teach for a living. That's what I do. I kind of command and control. And the brain scrub is really about understanding, well, what story has transpired over the years to get me to this place where it's causing conflict with others, where I disempower others, where I micromanage things. And it really made me think about that. And I'm not fully done processing it yet, but I want to take you through a bit of the processing because this stuff is really valuable, is to really understand what are those things that I'm doing that are not good, that are making other people feel little. And And that's what I was doing. And then I always felt little when I was younger. I felt very disempowered. I felt like I could never do anything right, that I had to try harder, that I had to put more effort into things. And I think because of that, I became very controlling and doing things on my own. I have a certain level of impatience, but it's also, I've learned to take care of things. So when I step in and I try to control a situation, it's not intended in a way of disempowering somebody else. It's intended to keep me busy and to keep my mind focused on doing something and to get it right and to do it the right way and to please other people. And that's what I ended up doing a lot in life as well, is I had to work really hard at making sure everybody else was happy so that I felt valued and I felt like I was part of a team, because I was never really included in things, or I wasn't really supported in how I thought about things. I was never asked about how do I feel about things. I was just told, do this, don't do that. And it had its consequences. And now as a 55-year-old man, I am seeing how disempowering that can be to other people by me taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, and managing it. Or the other thing that came up was I take risks, and maybe there's a deep-seated part of me that feels people don't care about me. Wow. And when I said that, I actually felt it. That people don't care about me. Why would you care about me? I need to care about myself. And what happened in this situation with the bear was my wife definitely was upset with me. She said, I don't want anything to happen to you, Glenn. Please stay with us. And I guess part of my independent way of thinking and doing things and not following the group norms is, you know what, the group doesn't care about me anyway. Whew. And I'll just do it, because I had to always be concerned about me and manage me. I've never asked anybody for money. I've done things on my own. I have a strong work ethic. I have a value of independence versus interdependence. I have learned not to rely on others to do things, that I need to rely on myself to get things done. This is part of the reason that I have this podcast, is to not beat oneself up, but recognize, how did you end up the way you are? What puzzle pieces created you? There's pros, there's cons in how we behave with other people, how we are. But when those impact people in a negative way, if I understand why I do it, then I have more choice in how I move forward with things. So my commitment to my friend was to not micromanage, to let things go, to let him do things his way. And it doesn't have to be my way all the time. But I notice how I always try to keep my eyes open to see, I wonder if they're doing it the right way. Are they doing it the way that I would do it? Should I help them out? Because it also shows people that you're incompetent, that I don't believe in you. I don't trust you. So many negative messages come out of that, all because of things that happened to me when I was younger, and I lived into those things. And I figured out, in order for me to get through life, and what I've learned is command, control, do things on your own. If you do it, you're going to get it right. You don't have to rely on other people for approval, although I do want recognition as well. But I overstep my boundaries. And life is not up to me. How I live my life is up to me. But how others are in relation with me, they need to figure things out on their own, or they need to be allowed to do things on their own. Not to have somebody watching them like a hawk to make sure that it's done the right way. Thanks for listening, everybody. And the big message here is to work with your friends, work with your family. Find out what are those things that I'm doing that's not working for you. Why do I do those things? What should I do differently? Because life is fun. Life is interesting. Life is solving problems. Life is achieving self-actualization. And as one gets older, for me, life has become so much easier because I start to understand how I get in the way of my own success. Love for me, love for others, my friendships, my communities. I need to change. I need to grow. I need to develop and be my best self by embracing the wonderful human being I am, and I've always been, but have changed over time to please others or do what I thought had to be done to gain the love of others. And now it's clearly getting in my way. But by understanding it, my journey is much easier. Thanks for listening.